Well, we'll give this another try. Out here fiddling around with this live stream. Not sure if this GoPro is going to be the way to go. We'll get our wing. So I'm going to finish coring this wing out. Well, we'll give this another try. Out here fiddling around with this live stream. Not sure if this GoPro is going to be the way to go. We'll get our wing. So I'm going to finish coring this wing out. So what I'm going to do is take this wire with the eyelet, put a little tape on it, keep this from coming loose. And what I did before is sort of explain a little bit. When I feed this foam wing on this nichrome wire, I put the root towards the part of the wire that doesn't come loose, which will become obvious. That's how I get it off. Just put some new wire on here. The old wire is 20 volts, which it looks like that's what this is going to take. So the trick is just to rotate this around inside of that template. And what I try to do is I try to keep the wing moving so that way it doesn't stick. That's pretty hot. I'll turn it down a little bit. This wire is it's pretty heavy. It's nichrome wire. I can't remember the diameter, but it's heavier than I like to use. I couldn't find my music wire. I usually use either a thinner nichrome wire that's from SIG, or I use 15,000 solid flying line. And I've got it in a bag out here in the shop somewhere, and I can't find it. It's in the shop, but so what I did is I grabbed this nichrome wire, and it's a heavier gauge. I wouldn't use it to cut my core out, but it'll be all right for this. It'll be all right to hold out. So basically, like I just did the other time, I just rotated around this wire. This wire doesn't cool off as quick as the thinner stuff does. It's still warm. All right. Got the sun coming through this window here. I don't think my lighting's very good. So I've got another core over here. Same thing. It's a little Cobra wing. It's already sheeted. It just hasn't been cored out yet. I think what I'll do is this live stream holds up. I'll go ahead and punch a hole in it. So these cores have already been sheeted, and they're vacuum bag sheeted. So in order to vacuum bag a balsa wood foam core wing without crushing it, you have to leave it solid. So whether you weight it down or you vacuum bag it, it's always do that first. So when it comes time to putting the template on here to mark the little X for the drop jig, I actually use the templates. So I'll take it and I'll just hold it up to the foam core. And I'll get it positioned pretty close where I want it. I'll mark an X. That'll be where the wire goes through it. Do the other one. These are nice little wings. You could probably use them for a lot of different things. The airplane, let's see if I can find the plans. It's a little Cobra, it's a half A. This is what I'm actually coring the wings out for. It's just a double core. This drop jig is what I use to punch holes in it. So this is set up to where you want this as free as you can get it right here. You know, when you set this thing up and you drill a hole for this bushing up here, you use a plumb bob to set it up, and then this will be the exit point because that's pretty much plumb to the wire. So at this point you don't need the templates on it. You can just, you know, start with the core, and I got an X here, so I'll put this X on the pin. The pin is where it's going to come out at. Rotate it up, and then I'll lower this wire, and that'll give me a reference to where I'm going to start at. Come out here and I'll shim it. Doesn't have to be perfect, you know, you got a little leeway there. And another thing, when you heat this up, you want to look at the top of that wire and make sure it's not jiggling, and let it settle down. So came out right there by the X, and you just feed it back from the bottom again. Can't feed it from the top because of the melted styrofoam on the tip of that rod. And put the root down here on the pin again on the other X. So that gives me the through holes to feed the wire. Do the other one real quick. I start at the tip since it's a smaller target. And if I was doing a bigger wing or a longer wing, I guess you'd say, I got different holes down here where I can just set the pin in different holes. When you reset the pin farther down or whatever, you just lower this wire down, and wherever the wire's hanging is where you put the tip of the pin. And then you can do a couple dry runs too to make sure that's where you need to be. And you can go through there and look underneath just to make sure that you're still where you need to be. Sometimes if it stops like that, it'll hit the pin. If you can, sometimes you can be too accurate. That was right on the money, so what it did is it stopped. You just have to make sure if it stops, you just shove it through. You don't want it to melt away with a lot of foam. And it'll be in another video where I'll edit this thing. We'll go through there and give you the fine points, but one of the things I did do with this music wire, I buffed it out with silver polish and made it really slick, and I coated it with Rain-X, and then I buffed the inside of this bushing, this brass bushing, with silver polish and Rain-X. So I cut the resistance down in that little bushing as much as I could. Only let it get cherry red. It's not that hot. It's sort of orange cherry. You know, just enough to fall through the foam. So there's my holes. I'll get this jig out of the way. So now, go back down here to the templates. I think the old sunshine coming through that window is killing the video of it. So you don't have to go crazy. All it takes on these pins is just one on the leading edge and one at the trailing edge. And there's hardly any resistance on this template when you're cutting it. The reason why I'm doing this video, I've gotten a lot of questions, and sort of wanted to clarify the drop jig in conjunction with the coring, so that way you get a better idea how it all works together. Now, some of these other people cut foam wings. I can tell by looking at them that they use a different method to actually punch a hole. I think some people have actually used like a soldering iron tip on a stick, and I sort of like this little drop jig because it's versatile. It's doesn't take up a whole lot of room, and I can adjust it for different size. I can do stabs, half-A wings like this, or bigger wings. So if you didn't keep this wing moving, what would happen is the wing would stick to the wire, and you'd have to yank the wire out. So the way it is now, I can remove the wing, and then I can peel this off. So, and then if you don't cut it all out, you can always go back and heat the wire back up and get the spot you missed. Here's another little fixture I was going to show. I think I got it laying around here somewhere. It's a little fixture to cut slots. I don't know if I'll demonstrate it or not, but I'll show it to you. So if you needed a slot for a spar, it's a little fixture to cut a groove. You know, with foam, with these soldering irons and different things, you can modify tips and modify all kinds of stuff to cut foam once you have the power source. Here's one. I'll do this one. And that'll be all of them. I think the only other core I've got hasn't been cut out. It's just a blank. It's for the same wing. And probably do that at another time. I don't have a place to set up my foam cutter. I got to move too much around. So I'll dig that out again. We'll do a core where we actually cut the wing. It's not that critical as long as it's centered. Oh, so on this wire, I slowed it down a little bit. You can see the Variac, but I'm running a 19 volts. Looks like I got it all. There's a little spot in here, little slice where I sort of hesitated. So that's about it. That's how long it takes to drop 4 holes and knock out the core. It really goes pretty fast if you're set up. You can slice a wing and get it in the vacuum bag with sheeting probably within, well, I don't know, an hour, hour and a half. And the next day, pull it out of the bag, core it, and you'll be done. When I was doing a lot of wings, I'd actually take all the wing sheeting, I'd run it through a planer, not a planer, but a joiner on the edge. I'd take all the sheeting and I'd stack it up and I'd clamp it together, and then I'd have it on edge and it would go through a joiner. And that made it quick, so I had an edge for all the sheets. Now, you really don't need to, at this point, there's really no reason to keep the core that came out. The only reason you'd keep those if you had to sheet them afterwards. That way you'd stick them back in the wing and then they'd stabilize it as you sheeted it. But with this method, when you already have it vacuum bagged down, you're done with them. So this is pretty much a done deal here. So that's what they look like. So I did these three this afternoon. So these templates are what I used today for the core. These two templates, root and tip, these are the ones I actually cut the cores on the foam cutter. There's a video, you go through my playlist, and there's a, I think it's called double-sided foam cutter, where it shows the core blank attached to the wires or the string. It's pulled through the machine. So let's see, I'm going to find that, see what I do with that jig. I don't know how well you can see this thing, but the idea behind this little jig I made up was to clamp it on a workbench. And when you clamp it on the workbench, there's two wires here, and it's sort of like a bandsaw effect. So you can adjust the spacing of these wires in and out, how close they come together, so that'll determine the width of your notch. And it's got little set screws here. They're like servo mounting screws. So you can loosen these screws and slide this music wire with the, well, this is 1/8 inch music wire, but slide it back and forth in relation to each other to get the width of the groove you want to offset these two wires. So what you do then, you clamp this thing to the bench. It's made to go underneath the bench like that. I don't know if you can see, I guess you can. So it'll clamp to the bench here, which will leave all this open, and this will be out of the way. This is what actually goes to your power source. So on the workbench, you'll set up your clamp or glue a little straight edge on the glass and line that up with your notch or where you want to cut it at, and then you just slide it along the fence in through these two wires, and that'll give you like a spar slot. So it's made to clamp to the bench, and it's made to normally go over on the other side of the bench. It'll be on that side, and that'll power it up. And you can use anything for a fence. You can take one of these tubes that I've got. This is a sanding tube. I love these things. So you could take this and you could C-clamp this to your bench. I keep sandpaper on one side and the opposing side, and these sides here are left blank. So I just clamp the tube against the bench. Like this, and then your wing would slide against this. And of course this is below the bench, so it would be like this. The tube would be on top of the bench, and this part would be below the bench. So future video, I'll do a demo on this thing. And probably the only thing I'll use for this, or use this jig for, is some wings, and not this one of course, but you want a slot in there for a spar. So you'd set it up to where this is against the fence, and you'd run it through like this. And usually what I do is I make a little mark how deep I wanted the spar slot. I'd run along the fence till I got to that spot right there, and I just turn the variac off. And then you can also spin it this way to do landing gear clips. So it doesn't really matter, you know, what configuration. I mean, ways of doing it. You could add a handheld bow and slice it out with templates or whatever, the slot, but I just chose this method because it was fairly compact and I could take it off the bench when I wasn't using it and wouldn't get in the way. So one of the things, I don't know if I mentioned in another video, but this glass plate is sitting on MDF. It's shim flat. But what I've done, instead of having a separate bow to do all this coring, what I've done is I drilled 2 holes in this bench at angles, probably about 30 degrees. And then I insert these wires in there. So this is, I think it's 3/16. Maybe it's a quarter, I don't know. 3/16. So this in effect becomes my cutting bow, and when it comes time to put it away, that's all I have to do is just put this away. But that's what these holes are for. And then the Variac, this Variac here is something that came out of a Hamfest. It was like a swap meet, and there's different variations of them. This one's sort of deluxe, I guess. It's got, of course, the on and off switch. Here's your dial for your power. Here's your output. The input is on the back of it. So it's got 2 ranges, a 2.5 amp and a 7.5 amp. So as you're turning the dial, you can watch the voltage go up. I never got past 20. It's probably about 18 or 19 volts. And then you can watch how many amps it's drawn. But you can switch between 2.5 and 7.5. Of course, then the fuse. So it's real simple. It's all AC though. I won't go on any rant about AC versus DC, but here's the other thing over here. It's the same Variac. We're the same type of deal. This right here, it's set at 70 volts. And I always plug the Variac into a power strip, because what I do is I run these Dremel tools off of them. So once you get this thing set up, get it plugged in here. Well, I think if I get the right one plugged in. I think I got to plug the Variac in. But anyway, I run the Dremel tools off of the Variac. Let's see here. Probably came unplugged somewhere. There we go. Switch was off. So anyway, this Dremel tool, you can adjust the speed. When you dial the speed down, you lose torque, so you have to compensate for it. If you go too slow, see it, there's no torque. So once you compensate for where it needs to be under load, then you adjust for it. The other thing this Variac does, a lot of people, I don't know if they do this or not. When I set this Variac at about 90 volts, 90 or maybe 85, that'll get me about 110 degrees in a hot box. So I come over here, the Variac is set up, and it's on a heat lamp in here. So in this little styrofoam box, it doesn't get that hot, but it'll get it to like 90 degrees. And when you adjust that variac, it adjusts that heat lamp. So all this resin in here, whether it be laminating resin or casting resin, it's all in here where I try to keep it at about, oh, I don't know, 90 degrees, 100. I got a little thermometer there. So I pretty much know at 90 to 100 AC, it'll be about 100 degrees in this little box. It's not a high temp. This little warming box only goes to maybe 110, 115. So, and also by keeping the resin in this warming box, it keeps it to where it's not drawing moisture, so it lasts a little bit longer. Over here, if I cure something in an oven, this thing will go to 400 or 450. So this is an oven that you actually can cure small molds in. There's a landing gear mold back there. And what I do is I come over here and there's a Celsius, and I get a pretty good guesstimate what it is, but then it'll tell you right there with the old meat thermometer. So I just go with this thing. So if I need to cure a bell crank or a landing gear or any part that will fit in here, that's what I use, this oven. And this oven, believe it or not, it's a lab oven, but at the top there's a hole right up here, and it's got like a vent, so you can run a metal pipe through that hole and you can run vacuum bags in this oven. So that's pretty much in a gist what's going on out here today. So just wanted to mess around with this live stream, see if I can get it to work. So I'll still edit videos. Sometimes I'd rather just go ahead and get the information out there and just on a stream. So I think there's room for both a stream and a good edited video, but that saves me a lot of time going up there on the computer. But I'll still do it, but I won't do it today. So I finally got some knobs on my, not knobs, but drawer pulls. My little workbench part here. So what I've been trying to do is organizing some of this stuff to where I can find the stuff that I need to find. This is a lot of composite stuff here. These are molds. Here's this was a plug to make a mold for a helmet. So here's the canopy I pulled, and here's the pilot. It's going to be a helmet. I still have to put a face shield on it. So that'll be going in this airplane up here. And then some of the other stuff in here, these are pods. It started out as a landing gear or a wheel pan like that. I cut the bottom off. I made a scoop, turned the wheel pan upside down, and then I made a little pod out of it. So what it looks like, it's not the control line persuasion, but here's what it looks like when it's on a plane. A little electric job. It's a park flyer. So scraps of tooling board, UHMW strips, whatever I use that for. Here's some wheel pants. I'm going to make molds. Here's some control horns. These are my personal horns for USA 1. So anyway, it helps having this stuff in a drawer. All the sanding tools. This stuff here is a little of this, a little of that. Make these little sanding blocks. So it allows you to get into a corner. And this is tapered so you can, get underneath stuff. Here's one with some paper on it. So, let's see, where are they at? I had these are all my these are my jigs for making horns. Here, I've got a video on that. Then these are all little sanding jigs for hinge slots. So eventually I'll go through here and I'll try to do more videos on specifics of this stuff to where it'll be a little bit more informative and it'll be edited. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. It's a new thing with me as far as this doing this live stream. For a while, I wasn't able to do the live stream because I didn't have enough people. You have to have so many people as to subscribe to your channel before they allow you to live stream it. So if I'm over 500 subscribers, but if you know anybody that you would be interested in this, send them a link and see if I can get more subscribers, and that way I can get a video over 15 minutes. I think it takes 1,000 subscribers to upload a video over 15 minutes. So anyway, that's what I'm shooting for. So I'll clean up this mess and we'll get back. Let me see. Nobody said anything here. Yep. So Steve Berry, thanks, very nice. Dirk Grobler. It's about time we got a new video. And Dennis B, hello, what's going on? So yeah, in this last year, well, basically I retired a couple years ago. So this last year I got busy with a lot of projects on the side. I was doing trim carpentry where I'd go into these houses, and it's like modeling. It's just bigger scale. So we do the crown, built-in cabinets. A lot of the stuff we did on the job were cabinets like this. This would be like in a pantry. So we did a lot of custom work for these houses, and these they're pretty good sized houses. So you're looking at 40-hour work weeks or more. So, and the other part of this whole thing here is that tool trailer to where, I don't know, there's a video on one of my channels, I think, it talks about that tool trailer, and I go around and do carpentry. So that's slowing down a little bit by choice. There's some other jobs coming up I've got to do. But hopefully, with the live stream, I can come out here and get everything set up and try to do tutorials of different stuff. And the other thing is, if there's something you want to see, whether it's making carbon landing gear, making props, theory that goes into the mold making, just let me know. You know, I'll post it. So whatever you guys want to see, you know, let me know. And we'll put it out there. I'm not sure if it'll be high quality or not. But, you know, I'll sort of get it organized to where it'll flow better. So, and another thing, maybe, I know Sparky does a ton of sanding and painting. So one of the things I don't want to do out here is sand. If I have a little technique or something, I'll pass it on. But the idea is to come out here with something, I don't know, sort of off the wall that people haven't seen maybe before, and give my twist on it. And like that crazy foam wing with the ribs in it. And some of it will be RC. I mean, some of this stuff that you know, I've done in the past. Like here's a wing. It's an RC wing. It's like a stick wing. But this was done with the Lost Foam deal, where it was a foam core, just like that USA one wing. You take the foam core and then you put the slots in it. You place the ribs in the slots. You vacuum bag over the top, and the vacuum bag is for the leading and trailing edge. And then you go back after the fact and you take all this foam out. So what it turns out to be is just a double core D-tube wing that's got foam here, but it's all built in a bag, and these little strip ribs are sunk down in the foam. So, you know, stuff like this I'll cover. That's for an RC plane. It very well could be a control line. So, but anyway, thanks for tuning in. I'll get off here, and hope to see more of you guys.